is the social track over here. And by social in this case, I mean social web. It happens to be my favorite part of the show because this is the kind of games that I have chosen to work on over the course of the last 3 years, and I really enjoy it. And you're in for a treat this morning. If you haven't heard anybody from Vuga speak at one of our conferences before, their presentations are always awesome. So with that, I am going to hand it over to Sebastian Nussbaum from Vuga. And what are you going to be talking about today?
So this microphone's working? Yeah.
Yeah.
So today I'm going to talk about secrets in social games. And basically I want to not concentrate on one game, but show kind of the learnings of the last 2 years. And hope share something helpful there.
And if you haven't been watching what's happening in the social games business over the course of the last 2 years or so, Vuga kind of came out of nowhere and now is the second largest social games publisher by users.
It's right now the third because EA got The Sims online there.
Oh, that's right. That's 65 million people. All right. With that, I'll turn it over to Sebastian, and we'll start our social track. Thank you very much.
Okay. So good morning, everyone. I'm pretty fresh because I arrived yesterday, so hadn't too much party yet. So my name is Sebastian Nussbaum, and I'm a senior product manager for Vuga. And that basically means that we start over with a white sheet of paper, have an idea, and then after a couple of months have a game which generates hopefully a lot of revenues. So Vuga has around 6 games on Facebook right now. There's a couple of mobile games in development, but we try to concentrate on Facebook still, and I think we're doing a pretty good job there. And my responsibility was Happy Hospital, which I'm going to show in a second. And right now I'm working on a unannounced game, which I won't talk about today. So the 6 games from Vuga are Brain Buddies, and then we have the Bubble Island, Monster World, Happy Hospital, which where I was responsible for, Diamond Dash, and then Magic Land. And I'm going to show a lot of examples today from these games, and hopefully share some insights on what to do better and how to have a successful game. So just to give you a brief idea what a game of Happy Hospital is all about. It's basically a pretty female-targeted game, and it's about having cure pets, which are pretty cute, which have funny diseases. So you have this lion here, which has kind of an accident while going skiing, and it's pretty simple, very female. So I just have a couple of friends who play it who are male, but I think that's not the general customer. So today the main topic will be that a hit game is not a hit game from start. And I think this is one of the core things that we learned in the last 2 years. And I want to show that even a game, if it's not successful in the first run, can be very successful, and that there are a lot of reasons that you should not drop it after the first run. So how do we start the game? Just want to go one step back. So you have a brilliant idea. Right now we have like 6 product managers at Vuga. And then we have the CTO and the CEO. You try to convince them. They believe in the idea, and they say, "Wow, it's wonderful. It's going to generate a lot of revenue." You have a very skilled team there. That's actually half of the Happy Hospital team during our Mustache Day. And then you have the desired game life cycle. So that's actually what your CEO wants. That's what the investors expect, and also, of course, you. And then, well, there you go. There's the launch. And you have worked 7 months. Really tough work, everyone's believing in it, looks good, and then you get the first results for the first day. And whoo, it looks really good. So CEO writes you an email at night, 1 p.m. Well done. That's a fantastic idea. Let's see how it develops. And then you get the first week, and it even looks better. So investors call up and go like, "Yeah, you guys, you are the best company, best team ever. No worries there." And then there's this other email which appears at 1 p.m. at night from your CEO. And that's kind of the trick. Like after 2 weeks of growth, the growth goes down. So let's take a look at the typical game life cycles. So here, and that's not to blame other companies, right? I just want to show how typical games develop. So we have here Social City from Playdom, a huge growth in the beginning, which is also related to heavy marketing traffic, and then it's flattening out basically till zero in May. We have Millionaire City here from Digital Chocolate, kind of the same structure there. Monopoly Millionaires, which is a huge brand, right, from EA, growing and then decreasing. So we always have this spike and then it goes down. And then last but not least, we have the City of Wonders, also from Playdom, where you have the similar growth. And that's actually, no one wants to have that, right? You want to create a game and it should grow. You want to have a brand which you can use. So one of the key things where we think this problem could be solved is iteration. So how we do that? I think that's a well-known cycle, but I just want to stress out how important it is. So we design whatever it is. It's a story. It's a core game loop, and then we have the prototype. We test that in usability testings, and if it's good, we go for it. If it's not good, we redesign it. We prototype it, and we do these testings again. And just to show you how we do that, because I think it's very important. So we get people where we believe these are the customers. So if we have a game like Happy Hospital, we would get a female in the age of 40 plus or 50 plus with very low computer knowledge. And then we really try to stick to these rules. So do user testings as early as possible. That's really the key. You can start from day one testing your game idea, even with paper or with a small prototype. And as I said, test the right profiles. Right? User testing is the best way where you can cheat on yourself. So if you test a female game with like a male 20 plus who is keen to Facebook games, it won't work. And then the very good thing about this is that you only need 3 to 5 testers and you get the major problems. You have them there. You have them right in front of you. And the thing is, often a game designer thinks this game is the best game he ever did. Then you get a person for usability testing, and the customer will tell you from a scale of from 0 to 10, give the game a 2. And then you might argue, well, the customer didn't understand it, it's a great idea. Don't do that, right? Keep your ego out. It's really important that the customer likes the game. So let's get on the examples which I want to show today. So first of all, we have a Bubble Island. And here we have a nice growth. The game was launched in February 2010. And it was growing up to 1 million DAU. So DAU stands for daily active users, which is kind of the key measurement when we talk about Facebook games. And then this happened. So the game was on a nice growth, and all of a sudden, curve decreased to 650,000 DAU, and that's of course a very bad trend. So let's take a look at the game. So the game is a game about shooting bubbles, and well, I think the core is pretty well known. So you need 3 matching colors, and then the bubbles disappear. So the game was built in a way that you would have levels, linear levels to proceed through, and these levels would get harder and harder level by level. You would have a huge map where you would see your friends, the positions of the friends, and also kind of the levels where to proceed to. And this, within these levels, there were kind of checkpoints. So, what was the problem of the game? People were seeing this screen very, very often. And that was kind of the key problem why the curve went down. Because we found out that having these linear levels led to, either for the good players, that they played through all the levels, so they didn't have any levels to play through, so they stopped. Or they stopped in a certain level because it was too hard. So they couldn't succeed on completing that level. So these are the core problems, and we found it out with user testing. Okay, we have to get on these problems. So how do we do that? Sorry. So Christopher Parshat, who's responsible product manager for this game, came up with the idea of the level of the week. So the level of the week is a level which every user gets every week. And it has a different mode. So it's like 60 seconds. And in these 60 seconds, you need to get as much as points as possible. And every week there's a new level, and there's a high score list. And this high score list will be resetted every week. So every week, a customer has the chance of being in the high score list, having the chance of succeeding in the level, and plus you get achievements if you're like in the first top 3, or if you played a couple of times. And that was kind of the solution there. So when we get back to the curve here, we see this decrease, and then we have this here. And this is really fantastic because this is just related to the level of the week. We have later some cross-promotion with other games, but no other big feature was added to this game beside the level of the week. So another example I want to show, or a couple of examples I want to show from Monster World, which Stephanie Kaiser has working on. And if someone has seen her presentation about Monster World, then you already have a good idea, but I want to get a bit more specific on some issues that she mentioned. So we have here Monster World, which was launched in May 2010. And then we have a slight growth there till August 2010. But the problem is our CEO kind of set a benchmark that a game which is a huge success should have 1 million DAU. He's now correcting himself a bit towards 2 million, but I think that's a different story. So we have here this number which is around 300,000 DAU. And this is too low. The team has worked 7 months till this point, put a lot of features in, and it's still not growing super fast. So what did the team do? So this should be the curve, like the level where the game should be. So the team said, okay, let's not put any new features in. Let's iterate and concentrate on details, right? Let's really find out, because we believe in this game, let's try to find out what the problem of this game is. So to give you a better idea, I want to show a very short video here. So this is the tutorial from Monster World. Oops. So it's a farming game. One could say it looks like Farmville, but it has a couple of differences. So we have these monsters there. We have some crazy plants that you have to harvest. We have a nice customer waving there, the robot. And that's kind of the tutorial what you see here. So you learn how to do the basic stuff. And again, a lot of customers from Wooga for these female games. This is females 40, 50 plus who never played before, right? So it's really important to show them step by step how the game works. So, one first thing what the team did is they took a look at the tutorial, what I just showed. So we try in the tutorial and also in other important areas of the game, we try to measure the drop-off rate. So you see here the steps of the tutorial, and then on the right-hand side you see the percentage, which is the drop-off of the players who stop playing. And this gives us a very good idea about how many players stop at which point. And if you see here the step from point 5 to 6, then we have this drop-off of 1.3%, and this would be way too much for our understanding. So we try to find out what the problem is there, and this can be either the tutorial is not done in a good way, so for example there's an arrow missing, or a feature is just not fun, or something's misunderstanding. So there's a couple of reasons there. So the team went in and took a look at that, and this increased the retention a lot actually. Then minor things, like you have this plant here, this lemonade bush. First it took in 5 minutes to grow, and A/B testing that with a lot of customers, they reduced it to 3 minutes, which actually had a huge impact on the retention as well. And that's just like numbers, right? That's no big feature in that. And then stuff like usability. You see on the left side, you see the interface from start. So you have 2 rows, pretty crowded and pretty hard to understand. And then on the right side, you have a much nicer way of getting the user using the tools and all of that. So that also was a huge increase there. And then one of the important things, which I think a lot of developers kind of ignore, is bug fixing and performance. So if the game loads slow, if the game is not running well, that's the main reason for customers to stop playing. So they took a lot of time there and made that better. So let's take a look at the curve. That's actually what they wanted to reach, and that's what they did reach. And I want to repeat myself here, no new feature was added. This growth is just related to polishing and iteration. So this is incredible. Like from, we talked about 300,000 DAU active users to 1 million. So let's take a look at a very important issue there, because that's where the investors, of course, are interested in, and which, of course, pays all the salaries. Monetization. So we first tried a lot with time-limited offers. So we thought if we sell in-game stuff for a limited time, for a nicer price, this would boost sales a lot. And it did, but in a way which is not very healthy. So let me show you this. You have here the average sale level on the bottom, and then these spikes there, which are the time-limited offers. So time-limited offers, in a way, how we did it, increased the sales in a month or for a special time period, but not the average. And of course, you wanna level up the average. Plus, you cannot do these time-limited offers too often, because then you will spoil the customer. He will feel cheated, too much banners and all of that. So what about the pricing? And that's actually pretty interesting, and that's something where we at Wooga spend a lot of time with, testing prices. So let me show you in a very short video what magic wands are. So magic wands are a tool that let the plants grow instantly. So you buy them for real money, and then you click on the plants, and they're instantly ready. So if you have a plant which takes 12 hours or 48 hours, this is very helpful, of course. And this is the best-selling item in the game. So, you see here two pricings, and this is just changing the number in a database, right? So you have on the top, you have like cheaper prices, and on the bottom, just higher prices. That's the only difference there. And you see there, just changing the numbers increased 24% of the main selling item in the game. This is incredible. It just takes you one click to change it. Of course, you will have to test it, let it run for 1 week, but this is fantastic. No developer, no designer has to work on that, right? And then even more, I want to show, I think, one of the examples which amazed me, well, where details matter a lot. So you have here this screen, and I'm going to show you another screen, and there's just a minor difference there. You see it? So that's just this small plus there. And the difference is here that in this mode, people could buy magic wands when they're out of magic wands, and here, people could buy magic wands even if they have magic wands. So this small graphic there, with a small feature, also increased the sales for 22% of the magic wand sales. I think that's incredible. That was the best feature what we did at Wooga, I would say. So, yeah. So we realized, okay, consumables are pretty good. I would call a magic wand a consumable. And so the team believed, okay, let's have another consumable. Let's have Wugu, okay? So that was the idea. It looks really cool. It's pretty precious. But there was not really an idea what it would be good for. So the team decided, okay, let's have Wugu as a fuel for an auto harvester. So this is, I think you might know it from Farmville, where you click on something and then like 20 flowers are picked up, so you don't have to click too many times, so it just helps you proceed faster. But the problem was, if you see here the averages, and as I said, magic wands, which you see on the top, they are like 50% of the revenue. It didn't make any money. So people bought Wugu a bit, but they didn't use the harvester at all. So the team thought, okay, so we still believe in Wugu, but what's the key of it? And that's also one key learning which we had in the last 2 years, that you cannot put something into the game which is meaningless. And this auto harvester was not really meaningful. So the team came up with an idea for a second customer, which you see here, this small robot there. It's called Roberta. And she wanted to have items which you have to craft with the Wugu and the flowers you do get from your garden. So here's a better picture. So she demands stuff from you, and basically you need the Wugu to prepare the stuff for her, and she's a lady, so she wants something special there. You need to build factories to get the stuff for her in combination with the Wugu. So let's have a short video there how this looks. So we have Roberta there. You generate the stuff from the factory, and then the item falls out, and then you sell it to Roberta. There it goes. And the small lady is pretty happy. You reached another goal, and you're ready to go. So, getting back to the slide, oh, I have to mention that the Wugu you would get from selling stuff to Robert. So it was really put deep into the core mechanic. So we've been here, and then this was the first factory where you could create stuff for Roberta, followed up with the second factory. With the second factory, so we saw this is a growth, right? And we're talking here about adding up on the total. So we kind of doubled sales there in this game. So a lot of customers said, "Wow, Wugu is great. I want to have more. I need more." People were calling us up. How can I get more Wugu? It was really an insane time. And then the team came up with a pretty funny idea. So they invented the Wugu pump. And the Wugu pump would generate Wugu for free, very few, but if you would use it too often, it would break. So it was kind of a gambling. I could use it 3 times a day, it would give me free Wugu, but then if I use it maybe 5 times, it would break, maybe 6 times, I don't know. If it's broken, then you would need materials from your friends, which you would request. So people were loving this, but the most important thing is, it got much more Wugu into the game, but the Wugu sales increased, right? Because people were using it more. So it didn't influence the Wugu sales in general. So let's take a look here. We had here the crafting, and then here we have the Wugu pump. And this is awesome because we have an item, the magic wand, which is sold in the game, and then another item which hasn't been into the game, is overtaking the sales of the best-selling item. So I think this is a very good example how much you can advance and change a game which is already out there. And here just wanted to briefly show the spike there. That was the small plus which I showed earlier. So the jump there is related to the plus. So this is crazy. We talked about now the features, but then one thing which you should not forget is the more games you have, and we right now have 6 games, and they are all developing pretty nice. The more customers you have, and then having a small banner which cross-links between the games can have a huge impact. So we see here this phase where just the focus has been on monetization. And then, oops, wrong key. And then here we have a Diamond Dash cross-promotion. And this is no aggressive pop-up in the beginning of the game, right? This is just a small link, a small graphic on top or bottom, or something which we put into the game. For example, that you play some Diamond Dash rounds, and then you get a special item from Monster World. So to sum it up a bit, regarding Monster World, the team learned that having these new features which are really into the game and giving the player more depth is the key to go. And most interestingly is that the game has, like, every week a new peak. So the game has been released last year and is still growing every day. And well, the team and of course the whole company is pretty happy about that. So I would say regarding Monster World, it's a bit about challenging the player in a way that he can also reach the goals. So it's not worth putting features in which are tough and which will kind of slow down the player. It needs to be something which makes the game, gives him more depth and more decisions on that. So we could say that every game is fixable. But I guess this would be a pretty arrogant approach. So we still have this situation here, and there has to be something right before putting features into an iteration game. So we have some basic things which have to be right before. I just love this baby panda, so I have to put it several times. So, have the basics right, I want to give you some insight on that. I talked about it before, and that's really one thing which is underrated a lot. So I just want to stress it out. Make sure that you have your target audience right. No? What are you aiming for? Is it male? Is it female? So this will be kind of the Wooga customer. And talking about the theme, there's a lot of tools actually which you can use to find out if your theme's right. There's this website casualcharts.com where it's showing which themes are sold the best and which genres and all of that. So there's a lot of leaderboards and tools, and I would just suggest use them before you start on your idea, right? And then another thing. What about the game core? So we just talked about a lot of features and iteration, but what about the game core? So this is kind of the first detailed game loop of Heavy Hospital, and it's a complete mess. So it would take me 15 minutes to explain this game loop, and this is not good because if you can't explain it in a couple of words, then the whole game loop might be much too complex. So we try to stick to a couple of rules there, and that's not too detailed right now, but I just want to give you a short checklist on that. So have the game loop simple, right? The basic thing what you have should just take a couple of clicks and should be understandable. And then, and this is very important, the stuff that you do in the game core, you do it so often. If the game will be successful, you will do it 1,000,000 times, right? And this needs to be fun. That's pretty understandable. Then requests need to be, if we talk about Facebook games, requests need to be in the game core, otherwise the virality won't work. And then finally, what I just said about Monster World, have strategic game dev. So the player wants to be smarter than the game. The player wants to be smarter than the designer. That's a very rewarding feeling, and we just found out that this is very, very important for the games that we have. So one example I want to show, a negative example from Happy Hospital is one thing which I never realized when we built the game. So the players really love these characters. There's like 46 characters in there, and they all have funny diseases. But these pets, if you cure them, they leave the hospital. So that's a very bad thing, actually. I mean, of course, I love to leave the hospital when I'm cured, right? But our customers, they want to keep the stuff, right? They cared for the pet for a couple of hours. They cured it. They had some nice animations, and then the pet is leaving. That's pretty bad. Don't do that. So don't take stuff away from the customer. We got some pretty bad emails on that. And then one thing which I really want to stress out, if the game core is not good, you cannot fix it with features. So have your checklist. If this is okay, then go for it. But if there's something wrong, don't put features. It won't like rescue the game. Yeah, and that's some very crucial thing. And also we did a lot of stuff wrong in the beginning on that, that you have to iterate the core till it's fun. Because this is the point of no return. Seriously. And you want to have a brand which is successful. You have a huge team. You want to pay salaries. Make sure the game core is right. You won't fix it later. There's no chance. And I think that's one of the main things why a lot of games are not successful. So take your time, right? Just to sum it up, ask yourself, what does the user expect? You have the idea, you have your game core, but still the user is expecting something, right? And you have to make the customer happy on that. And then, why is it not working? I said before, try to leave your ego out, right? It's very tough to say, okay, we work now with 12 people, 6 months on that, and then to say, I think it's not working, let's stop it, or let's start over. That's a pretty tough situation, but you have to do that. If you're not sure, if it's not working, you have to solve it. If you don't solve it, the problem will be there forever. And then, as I said when I talked about the tutorial, how does the user play? Try to understand how the user plays, right? If you're sitting in front of your game, which the company produced, you play in a total different style, right? So one small example on that, with the new game Magic Land, it took me like 10 minutes for the first session. And then we had a customer there. She was a woman, 50 plus, and it took her like 1 hour, right? Because she was clicking everywhere, she was watching the nice color, was like seeing the animation there, stuff which we have seen 1,000 times, right? So don't try to think too much as a developer or designer. Yeah, and that's basically where we are. So every game has its secrets, and I think it's a tough job, but we are pretty happy that the games are growing fast, and I think if the horizon is there and the understanding for what I've said, then this will help a lot. Wooga is growing a lot, and therefore I would like just to mention that if you want to move to Berlin, feel free to contact me, because we have some very exciting projects going on. And then that's it actually for today from my side. Thank you very much.
I think there's some questions.
Yeah, we have questions, yeah, of course, sorry.
When you were showing those graphs with user growth in the beginning that you were trying to fix, then those were just organic growth, no marketing?
Oh yeah, I did mention that. So in the beginning we had 2% of marketing, so nearly nothing, because we believe if you have a game, you need to have the growth without marketing. Otherwise, you will see curves like in Playdim where you have this spike and then it's flattening out. You need to have this viral growth, otherwise, well, you cannot believe on the numbers.
What does 2% marketing mean?
So 2% of the users coming to the game were from marketing in the beginning. Right now, with the newer games, we have kind of 8%. But this means then as well that 92% come from viral sources like requests from friends, or the news feed, or just by telling friends how good it is. Yeah. Do we have another question there?
So I noticed on the graphs that Diamond Dash was doing really, really well.
Yeah. Well, I think that's basically because it's such a simple game and the team spends so much time on iterating it. And they have a pretty cool system. You need lives to play. So you're allowed to play, I think, a day 3 times or something. And every time you play, it costs a life. And then you can request lives from friends. And there was a huge viral growth there.
Any other questions for Sebastian?
Hello. What do you think about feature list for release and some first updates? How is difference between these things?
Excuse me, I didn't understand. Could you repeat your question?
What do you think about feature list on release version of your game for social market and some first updates? Which thing developers add to version?
I'm not sure.
Is the question a little bit about like the minimum feature for launch versus what you should add later?
Okay. So we're
how we need to think about this.
Yeah. Okay. There's this word minimum viable product, but I think you need to develop the game and then open it up for a small audience and check the numbers. And then if you're happy with the numbers, then you can like start growing it a lot. So what we did, for example, with Magic Land was when we thought the game was good enough, that's just like the feeling from the inside of the company, then we targeted one country in the US, just this company by ads. So we could kind of simulate people who know each other and then see there the retention and all of that. And then if we thought, okay, the numbers are good enough, then we would open it up and cross-link it to the other games. So kind of when we believe the game is really good enough for for a big launch, then we cross-link it to the other games, and that's then the huge growth. So I would say try to get as much as numbers as possible before, to find out if you have the right features and if the core is right. Is that answering the question? We can talk later about it in detail again.
Hi. I have a question. What do you think is better, to do complex games with complex gameplay like Zynga do, or make simple puzzles like Diamond Dash? What are pros and cons of different approaches?
Yeah. Okay. So I think it's also it's a question of the resources that you have. For example, Diamond Dash took a team of 4 people and 6 months for the first version. So this is doable also for small developers, while a Zynga game will have 100 people working on it for 1 year. So that's kind of the difference there. So why is not everyone doing these Diamond Dash games? Because they don't monetize so well. So these simple arcade shooters monetize maybe 1/6 of what the strategy contract game does. So that's basically the difference. But I think for a newcomer, it's pretty good to start with a simple arcade game. What numbers? So I think we can talk about that then in detail when you approach me. Yeah.
You said you've been doing a lot of A/B testing for tweaking some elements in the game, including some obvious gameplay elements like 5 minutes to 3 minutes for replenishing a resource, or even the price of certain items. So you were doing it in parallel, so some players had different settings than others. How much of your players did notice, and how much of them maybe eventually complain about that, or complain about not playing with the same settings as their friends?
Yeah. Of course, this is a very, very important topic. So if we talk about the core balancing of a game, then it's not a good idea to have 2 versions at the same time, because people will notice and they will, it will crush the loyal customer base. So we try to make this test as early as possible, but with a lot of people. So for a relevant A/B test, you might need at least 40,000 people in one group to get good numbers of that. Otherwise, they're just not relevant. So I totally agree, and that's kind of that's kind of the trick to find that right spot. But it's tough, yeah.
I saw you have a farming game, and I'm really interested. Before this game was developed, how did you find courage to develop yet another farming game? What were your basic considerations? Are you considering that farming games are just like poker games that you can endlessly clone, or how do you think about it?
So I think endlessly cloning won't work. And the story of Monster World is actually a bit sad, because the team was working on a farming game, and then all of a sudden Farmville came out. And so they said, well, we have a huge problem, because the game is not done yet and there's Farmville. And then, so in the beginning they had normal customers, and then they went into this, let's have monsters, let's have weird plants, let's target female audience specifically, and then it worked out. But I think making a farm game after Farmville was out would have been a tough call. So that was just bad timing there. So I think endless cloning is not a good idea. There needs to be something unique in every game.
Well, I'm walking the microphone over here. You gave an example of the harvester in Monster World that didn't work out so well. How many new features do you release that don't perform versus the number that you do?
So the features we release, and we release new features basically every week, which is very good because then we learn from them. The features which won't work is like, I think, 20%, 10% of the whole features which are put in.
Okay, hi.
Hi.
I wanted to ask, what are plans for the future? Maybe go on mobile or just putting out another game on Facebook?
So that's an interesting topic because I get asked here a lot why Wooga is not expanding in the eastern parts of the world. And so in the beginning we said let's try to focus on Facebook because it's such a tough job and we really want to be good at this. And a couple of months ago, Wooga also started building mobile games. They're not super out there, so we're still in development, but there's a couple of mobile games which will be out soon. But still then the vision for next year is still Facebook, and I think, yeah, launching new games there.
You guys were one of the first companies to move to Google Plus, or to try out Google Plus.
True,
How's it
true.
working?
Which was not very well successful until now.
When you say that your focus will be on Facebook and also you try mobile, is your focus on Facebook on traditional Facebook or Spartan with HTML5?
So right now, all the games which are live, they are built in Flash, so more the classical way. But we have one team which is working on HTML5 because we also want to go on an iPad, iPhone, and all of that. So, but still, HTML5 is not very usable if you talk about the classic Facebook game in general.
I think we have time for one last question, if anybody has one. And if not, thank you, Sebastian.
Thank you very much.